Sometimes I feel like people maybe misunderstand some of the things that I say or misunderstand where I come from when I am a little bit critical of one or the other brand. A lot of people consider that to be like a flip flop situation, but it's not. Now, when it comes down to what Sony's doing, I think Sony has done a really great job just being themselves. And much like how Nintendo tends to do extremely well, 100 plus million Switches sold, almost a billion pieces of software sold, they follow the beat of their own drum. That's what Nintendo does, and they're going to continue to do that. They're not going to go and change up what they do just because somebody else is doing that, right? They didn't go and make the Switch all powerful because that's what Microsoft and Sony were doing, right? They put out a piece of hardware that's kind of mediocre at best. I hate to say it. And, they focus on the games because that's what they've always kind of done. Now, when it comes to Sony, they've been leading the pack for decades. I mean, the PS3 was a bit of a stumble for them and they recovered. And, obviously they lost a lot during that generation, but they ended up recovering quite well and it propelled them to be what we know of with the PS4, and obviously they're using that PS4 into what we see with the PS5, which I think the PS5, a lot of it has to do, the success of it has to do with the PS4 itself. Now, I don't want to come down or seem like I'm coming down hard on PlayStation. Let me kind of preface this by saying I absolutely think PlayStation has the most incredible lineup of console exclusives I've ever seen this year. If everything releases as it should, they'll have that. They'll have that going for them. With that being said, I also got called a fearmonger and things, last generation. Back in 2018, 2019, just by going down the list of what developers Microsoft were acquiring and seeing what projects they were working on, I came to a very educated conclusion that 2023, 2024 would be the time that we see a lot of these games actually releasing. And people said I was fear-mongering and hating. It's not hate. I like Xbox. I love Xbox. You guys can see that. The passion is there. I love PlayStation. I think what they're doing is, right now what they're doing is great. This year is going to be fantastic. But I wanted to talk about how I feel like they're kind of screwing us over in one way and maybe jumping the gun in another. But it's going to be an interesting topic either way. Hey there, everyone. I'm the Crap Gamer, and of course, this is Crap Gamer Reviews, your home for gaming news, opinions, reviews, and much more. You'll probably notice some changes around here, but hopefully that doesn't stop you from giving us a like and possibly maybe even consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your free time with me today. It means the world to me, and I know you guys are busy and stuff like that, so just the fact that you guys are out here kind of doing your thing is fantastic, and I'm so happy with that. Thank you guys. Now, I wanted to talk about this because, listen, some of this stuff has been in the works for a little while. A lot of people say Sony needs more multiplayer games. Sony needs more multiplayer games. The only thing that I would say to combat that is, listen, a lot of the people that I hear say that are actually Xbox fans, right? And they say that because Sony has found such a winning formula with the single player, story driven narrative games. So I think that that's probably the biggest reason why we see that type of situation where people kind of complain about it. Like for me personally, I think that what they're doing is absolutely fantastic in the single player space. I think that the third party stuff really kind of takes care of its own. And even if Microsoft pulls Call of Duty in a few years, there's still enough there that's going to keep people happy without Sony having to go overboard with multiplayer online games, right? And so I was on Crossfire Podcast the other day. As you guys know, that's on Mooch's channel, and that's every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And things got a little bit heated. There was a lot of PlayStation fans, and I'm a PlayStation fan. And I was just kind of basically talking, and my point of view was this. As a PlayStation gamer, the Bungie purchase did absolutely nothing for me as a gamer. I get nothing out of that. Exclusive-wise or what have you, right? Like, that's just the God's honest truth. I'm getting nothing out of that. Now, some people might go, okay, well, they're going to get money to make more games. Listen, the number one company in video games are going to make video games, okay? If they need help paying the lights or something, that's on them. Right, they've already raised the prices of games, $10 this generation. They've got 50 million PlayStation Plus subscribers, and those aren't dollar deals, folks. They've got money. They've got plenty to build video games with and reinvest. And that's the point that I would make when people bring up, oh, well, the money thing. And then people bring up, well, they're going to help their other studios. Well, did you really need to pay $3.6 billion for that? But that's neither here nor there. The 10 live service games over the next couple few years, I think that is the point of contention. Think about this for a second. Microsoft, who are bashed a lot and known as a live service company, doesn't have that many, right? Because at what point are you actually competing with yourself? Now, I can go down a list of Microsoft's live service games, and some of them are very old. I mean, do we even count those? I don't know how active they are or whatever, but look, Sea of Thieves came out in 2018. That's a 4-year-old game. Yes, that's a live service game. State of Decay 2 came out in 2018. A live service game, but do we even count that at this point 4 years later? I don't think it's very active. Do we, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, Halo, that's a live service game. Okay. Forza Horizon 5, that's a live service game, right? I think that we're sort of kind of figuring this stuff out as we go along. And, it's just crazy to think that people don't realize or don't think that having 10 live service games might, and I'm not saying 100% for sure, but might take away from some of their other stuff that they're doing. So I found this very interesting article that's talking about who's developing these 10 plus live service games that Sony has planned through 2025. In Sony's most recent earnings call, the company quietly announced an ambitious plan to launch, here's the important thing, more than 10 live service games by fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026. That's over 10 new projects launching in just 4 years. Sony recently acquired Bungie, developers one of the most successful live service games in Destiny 2, just days before the earnings call, and will be closely collaborating with Bungie to make sure the expertise and technology it has developed in the live service game space can be used. Based on the already existing reports as well as past present job listings, they put together a comprehensive list of 10 developers that studios will likely be taking on some of the Sony's live service game projects. Naughty Dog, The Last of Us Factions project. The multiplayer spin-off for The Last of Us sequel is still being worked on. According to a recent blog post from Naughty Dog, the developer made the decision not to include Factions, the original online game mode, included in the first game, in the sequel back in September 2019. But the blog post 2 years later confirmed that they are still working on it and currently hiring for the project. At the time of writing, there are several multiplayer-oriented jobs at Naughty Dog, including environmental designer, economy designer, system designer, and technical designer. Particularly, the listing for the economy designer heavily indicates that Factions will exist as a live service multiplayer game with numerous responsibilities focused primarily on monetization, revenue, and retention. So, right there, you have the number one studio in the world, right, in my opinion, that makes narrative, story-driven games, and they're making Factions. And before you say, well, they're working on multiple projects, yes, but their other project is a remake of The Last of Us Part 1. And probably that's going to be coming to PC, and that's the only reason I can think of the remake. The other one is Project Matter from Bungie, a multi-plat game. It's going to be on Xbox. Sony and PlayStation will be heavily relying on Bungie for its contributions to its larger live service plans. Obviously, the continued support and development of Destiny 2 will be a foundational part, but Sony's looking forward to one of Bungie's future projects. The project goes by the name Project Matter, and rumored to be a competitive PvP title with a heavy focus on esports potential. So they buy Bungie for, almost $4 billion, and then we see that they're going to be doing multiplat. So they would have got that game anyway, and it's going to be on everything. Guerrilla Games has an unannounced project, which is hiring for multiplayer. So the team behind, Killzone and, of course, Horizon series is also doing that. Insomniac Games has an unannounced multiplayer Marvel project. Insomniac Games has, according to Eurogamer, reported on a potential multiplayer title back in June 2021 after Insomniac tweeted out a fresh round of job listings that including a multiplayer systems designer. A few months later, reports surfaced that Sony was looking to develop a PlayStation exclusive multiplayer title set in the Marvel Universe, with many signs pointing towards Insomniac. So, I'm not sure exactly, what that one could be, or if that's something that, I just prefer the single player stuff because we see what happens with Avengers as a live service game, right? And then we saw how good Guardians of the Galaxy is at just being a great single player game. Okay, Haven Studios, that could be one. They're working on a new online project for Sony. Sucker Punch, who did Ghost of Tsushima, have several job listings available for people to work on spectacular multiplayer game. So I mean, listen, if they should be working on Ghost of Tsushima too, not a multiplayer game, right? Like that's the thing that I don't want to see, is that these great studios who are worked on these great single player games force and do multiplayer. Like, these games don't need it. PlayStation London Studios. Several listings for London Studio are seeking to bring people in on upcoming PlayStation 5 online games, with particularly folks that have worked on live service games. Firewalk Studios is a new studio currently with an unannounced original IP. As part of its partnership with Sony, it's led by seasoned developers who know and love multiplayer games, and is hiring people with live game experience. This was already a developer with former Bungie people in it. Deviation Games is led by former Treyarch chief Jason Blundell, and announced back in 2021 is working on AAA original IP with Sony. The game went into full production starting 2022, and many expect it to be a first-person shooter, but new job listings has released said that it could be an RPG single-player game. Firesprite is reportedly taken over an unannounced Twisted Metal reboot from Lucid Games due to the poor reception of Lucid's Destruction All-Stars. Initial reports from 2021 said that the Twisted Metal reboot would be free to play, supported by cosmetic purchases. So that doesn't really say much to me. Like, I don't want to play a free to play Twisted Metal. I want to play if I want to play a Twisted Metal game, I want to play a Twisted Metal game, right? Like, this is the thing. I don't want this to end up hurting what's going on at PlayStation, because they don't need to rush around and do things to be number one. They don't have to change everything. They could play to the beat of their own drum and still come out on top. I don't understand this almost panic kind of, let's get games as a service. I don't understand that at all. Maybe you guys do. Maybe you think I'm overreacting. I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crep Gamer 'em up. Crep Gamer out.